guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Heather with Creativity by Heather BE, and today we are blog hopping along with the Brutus Monroe Inspiration Team. And I'm going to create a Halloween scene card using the Simple Blend stencil. These stencils are so awesome. They come in different shapes, and you can see here I've got it laid out. And what I'm doing is I'm using the circle one, and I'm going to use that to foil a moon for my Halloween scene. So what I love about these stencils is that not only do you get the circle cut out part of the stencil, but you also get the masking part included, which is awesome because it gives you so many different options. So once I had my circle drawn out where I wanted my moon to be, I'm going to go in with 3 different colors of inks, surface inks, and I'm going to blend out my background. I wanted to do that first before I did the foiling, because I will need to put the transfer gel on, which I've done in previous videos, but I will also show you here. So the first color that I'm going in with is Aubergine. It's a beautiful, gorgeous purple color. And I will tell you, I have the Distress Oxide inks and I love them. They blend so easily. I had the regular Distress inks and I would get so frustrated with them. So when the oxides came out, it was just like, oh, I could actually blend. And then I started using the surface inks from Brutus Monroe, and they blend just as well as the oxides, and they don't stay wet on you. That's the one thing I'm not crazy about with the oxides, is that they do, you have to kind of wait or they will smear because of the type of ink that they are. So I love the surface inks because they blend awesome and they're not wet. So what you saw me laying there was a stencil that I'm going to use, and this is from Hello Bluebird, and it's a spooky scene, and you'll see that again later on in the video. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Midnight, and the Midnight, this was a very juicy stamp pad. As you can see, even on that black glass mat, you can still see there on the right where the ink is. And I didn't want the Midnight to cover up all of the aubergine. So what I'm doing is, instead of taking my blending pad from the stamp pad directly to my panel, I'm actually putting it on the glass and pretty much picking up my ink from the glass. It was just a simple way that I can make sure that I didn't kind of overpower the aubergine. And you know, you can always go back in and add more color, but sometimes with the darker ones it's a little harder to lighten it up. You can still do it, it just takes a little bit more time. So I was really careful on how much Midnight I used. And I am going back with the aubergine again just to make sure, blend out any additional areas. I'm going to check with my stencil, make sure I've got everything covered that I'm going to need covered. As you can see, my line kind of disappeared. Sorry, my camera's struggling with the color in that white spot in the center. I do also have the Phonebook surface ink sitting there, and I'm going to use that in a moment. And what I'm going to use that for is to go around where the moon would be, because I wanted the moon to have kind of like that yellowish ring, almost as if it was glowing. So I'm just going around my panel, and I will, after I get it foiled, I will go back in and add a little bit more of the Phonebook. I don't think that was recorded though, but I will go in and add a little bit more of that. And you can see how large that stencil is. I actually have the circle one and the square one. There are 2 other sizes, I believe, and I'll have everything linked below for you. So now that I have my panel ink blended, I've taped everything down with purple tape, and I'm using the Deco transfer gel, and I will link another video up here in the corner where I actually used the gel. So once you get the gel, you just want to set that aside and let it dry until it's clear. So while that was drying, I decided to go ahead and stamp out my little girl, who I chose the little girl that's a witch, the bat, and the spider. So I went about this probably the long way, but it worked for me. So what I did first, I'm going to be watercoloring them. I'm going to use the new Brutus Monroe Aqua pigments, which is a liquid watercolor. But what I did is I stamped them in Detail Raven ink, which is an ink that you can use for copic coloring, watercoloring. It doesn't bleed into your coloring. And I was going to use clear embossing powder, and then I realized that the clear embossing powder would probably cover the entire image. So what I decided to do is I cleaned my stamp off again. I left it positioned in my MISTI, and now I'm going back in with my embossing ink, clear embossing ink, and I'm going to stamp that down, and then I'm going to use the black Raven embossing powder, which worked really well because there are some areas, especially with the little girl, like in her broom and stuff like that, that the artist kind of colored in for you. So there wasn't really a lot of room to do watercoloring anyway. So that really made it pop with using the Raven detail ink. And I love this black embossing powder. It stays put. It doesn't go all over your paper. So these are the new Brutus Monroe Aqua colors and Aqua pigments, and I will be using these specifically in another video soon. So I did speed through this pretty quickly. What I actually did not film coloring the bat or the spider. So these are great because they're very pigmented. So I am using a water brush here, and I'm kind of going back and forth. So to do some shadowing, I have just a regular dry paintbrush, which is what I'm using now. So I use the black with a little bit of water to kind of make it a little grayish for her hat, and then the purple for the rest of her hat and her apron. So there wasn't really a skin tone. So what I did is I took a drop of the brown and a drop of the yellow, and then I added some of the pearl pigment into it just to kind of give me a little bit of a skin tone. And I will go back and take that's the pearl there. It's beautiful. This is honestly what sold me on these pigment inks. And I did a haul video that I'll link here as well, where you can see each of the individual colors. But what I was saying is I did go back with a light zig marker and just kind of go over her face just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a flesh tone look. There you can see the adorable bat and the spider. I love these watercolors. I will be using these so much more often. So I have my Deco foil transfer gel dried. I added the Brutus Monroe brush stroke transfer foil paper, and there's our moon. And I chose this one because when I turned it to the side, it gave those stripes of the browns and the grays, and so it almost looked like there were clouds kind of going in front of it. There was a little bit of transfer gel that ended up over on the side, and I just took a sand eraser and it came right off. So the Hello Bluebird die I really liked it. It comes with a border frame, which is what I'm gluing on now, and I actually doubled these up. I cut it twice and glued them together to give it some more dimension. And then it has the hill area, and then you've got your two trees that kind of come together to form a scene on the top. And I had mentioned in the haul video that one of the things that drew me to this was I wanted some type of scene with trees, but I didn't necessarily, I have like the lawn fawn birch trees and things like that, which are great, but I've seen so many cards with it. I wanted something that was a little bit different. So this is what I found, and I do have it linked below for you. So I took my spider and I added some little googly eyes to him just to give him a little bit more interest. And I attached a piece of twine. I was looking for, I have some clear fishing line that I use for spinner cards and I could not locate it. So I just used a thin piece of twine for his rope, and I'm going to attach my little girl on. And I did use some foam squares, as you can see there, to attach her. I'm just trying to figure out where I wanted my bat. I hadn't really thought about my sentiment yet, which, as you can tell, is why I was putting the bat on the bottom. And so I decided to go ahead and put him over on that top corner. I was going to put him over on the right above the little girl. So there is the final card. I did heat emboss using the Great Fizz heat embossing, the Happy Halloween, as you can see there. This was so much fun. The Simple Blend stencil made that moon just so easy to create. There's so many things that you can do with these. And I will link the Brutus Monroe blog down below. Please check out the other amazing projects that our design team has done this week. And as always, everything will be linked below. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up, and have a great day.